Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Chris Crenshaw, and we are live from the 336 once again for episode 62 of the 815 Exchange. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, we're back in the old set. I'm on fall break for 2 more days, and then I have to go back and go back to Cali and uni, and we'll be back on the blue couch. But for now, we're back in the black chair. But it was an insane week. It was an absolutely insane, remarkable week in sports. And there's just so much, so much to talk about. We're going to start off with Fury Wilder. But before we get to that, of course, as always, remember to like, share, and subscribe if you're enjoying the content. And as always, everything you want, everything you desire, everything you're looking for is in the description. Timestamps, you want to skip right to that college football section, which comes after the combat sports section today. You want to get right to that. You want to hear me talk about Bama and all that type of stuff. Feel free. You want to hear me talk about the wild week in the NFL, MLB, whatever it is, feel free to skip ahead. And as always, social media links in the outro and in the description. So follow me on IG, follow me on Twitter. That's where I'm most active. TikTok, Snap, whatever it is, you can follow me there. And yeah, let's get this show on the road. I'm on a time constraint, unfortunately, even though I thought I was going to be free. I guess I'm in demand, which I guess is a good thing. But yeah, let's get it going. Combat sports, which is really just boxing this week. Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder. I'm not sure if I could call this the biggest, event of the week, as there were some bigger things that happened. But in terms of size, this was absolutely the biggest of the week. We had the unified, the lineal, and I think it was the WBC heavyweight titles on the line. And really just whoever's would be considered the number one ranked heavyweight in the world, as Usyk just took down Joshua, which also, I guess, more news there. Joshua has, in fact, according to Eddie Hearn, enacted his rematch clause, so we will be getting Usyk Joshua 2. But first, we have the trilogy, the conclusion to the trilogy. Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder 3. Of course, as we all know, Fury got knocked down after pretty much winning the first fight. Got knocked down in that insane moment in the first fight, which kind of turned it on his head and ended up getting a draw there. Then in the second fight, Fury dominated. Wilder came up with a bunch of excuses. There was no excuse to be made for this one. Absolutely none. It was, I don't know if I'd go so far as people are calling it the greatest heavyweight fight of all time or one of the best fights of all time. I would not go that far. It was a very entertaining fight, but I don't know if I would say it was one of my favorite fights ever. But it was a very, 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 very good fight. Very good fight. And that's exactly what it was. It was a fight. It was a brawl. It wasn't like Usyk Joshua where we saw Usyk express the sweet science of the sport. No, this was a brawl. This was Fury putting his weight on Wilder and them just slugging it out. It wasn't the prettiest. It was Russell Mora. Shout out to him. He put in a shift. But, hey, it was a brawl. It was a fight, and Tyson Fury came out on top. He got the knockout in the 11th round, a vicious knockout at that. There was 5 knockdowns in this fight. I mean, Wilder started off so good. You saw the improvement with Malik Scott as his head trainer now, but then, after he got, like what was it? Mike Tyson said, everybody has a plan until they get hit in the face. When Wilder got hit in the face, you slowly started to see that technique. All that game plan started to wither away. Even after he got the 2 knockdowns versus Fury, which, I thought that we might have a new heavyweight champion. I thought we were about to get a 4th fight. When that happened, saw him get knocked down twice. Though I thought that was mostly on Fury. I think he was trying to go for the grab and kind of missed there. But I digress. Wilder's technique just slowly withered as he got tired and as he got knocked down throughout the fight. You could see the technique. You could see him go back to the old windmill. And Fury just was, he was just too big and too good. Too good. There was levels to this. There are levels to this. And that's what happened here. Fury was simply on another level in terms of boxing ability than Wilder. And this is what we knew. This is why I said I had Fury over Wilder in this fight. And that's what happened. That's what happened. Fury just from a technical standpoint, was just a better fighter. Strategically, was just a better fighter. And that's what happened here. And Wilder, while still one of the best heavyweights in the world, Fury is clear. He's clear, as they would say across the pond. He's clear. He's the heavyweight champ. I can't wait. He might have to face Chisora, I think, since we might have, or Dylan. I think it's probably Dylan. Probably has to face Dylan White, because I feel like we're going to have to wait quite a bit for that Usyk Joshua 2, even though they said they're going to try to get it cracking on the spring. But nonetheless, we get a step closer to undisputed. Fury, as most of us thought, won, but Wilder showed a lot of heart. He got to go out on a shield. That's what he wanted. He wanted to get knocked out, and he got knocked out. We'll see where he goes from there. Stuff that happened on the other card here. Jared Anderson, a rising heavyweight prospect, got the TKO in round 2. He's been great so far in his career. We'll see how he continues. The reigning prospect of the year, possibly the hottest at the moment, prospect in boxing, is not so hot anymore. Edgar the Monster Berlanga, UD's Corsasis, fantastic veteran boxer who gave Berlanga the fight of his life. The hype died. He didn't lose, but the hype is taken to a minimum. All of the Canelo questions that he's fielded and answered, we need to slow down. We need to slow down. Now, Edgar, I like Berlanga. You know, he's got clear talent. You know, seems to have his head on straight. But there were some noticeable defensive holes in his game, even offensively. You know, it shows that even though he had the 16 straight knockouts, these past 2 fights have showed that Berlanga, still a young fighter, has a lot of room to improve before he's truly on that world elite level. The potential's there, the talent's there, but, you know, he needs some time. He needs some experience. This was a fantastic test for him. Took him to the brink, took him to his absolute limit. He was rocked. He got knocked down for the first time in his career. It's not like Corsasis got robbed. Berlanga won the fight, but it showed that there's a lot of holes in his game, and before, you know, he's calling out these top tier guys, he's got a lot to work on and a lot to grow in, a lot of areas to improve upon, unless he wants to be the top guy, which is what he's aiming to be. But nonetheless, it was a solid event. Of course, the main event delivered, and I'm glad that the trilogy's over and we can finally move on. But hope you guys enjoyed. You can tell me what you thought about this week in boxing. Now to head over to college football, and it was one of the best weeks I can remember for college football ever, if I'm being honest. Of course, we're gonna start off with them 49ers, baby. We're 4-2. Chris Reynolds went for 4 touchdowns, 22 for 28, 220 yards total, 4 touchdowns total. CR3, listen, you know, offensive player of the year / player of the year for the Conference USA. He's got to be in the running. I mean, we beat FIU 45-33, by the way. Bird with 117 kick return yards. He was doing damage in the return game. It was just a great game for us. You know, defense could have cleaned it up. We didn't allow as much rushing yards as last week, so that's always a plus. But as we know, that offense, when it's on, and it's so deadly. The run game is dynamic. The passing game, obviously dynamic, having one of the best quarterbacks in the Conference USA, having some of the best receiving, what I dare say is the best receiving corp in the Conference USA. It's looking good. It's looking good. Like I said, man, young people watching this, high schoolers, recruits, if you watch this, come to Charlotte, man. Come to Charlotte. Come play for Will Healy. Come play for Club Lit. It's different. It's different. Students, come to Charlotte. Come to Charlotte. The whole stigma about, you know, when we were in our younger years as a football team, you know, about, hey, you know, I don't know, you know, we suck, nobody really comes to the game. That's cap. It's cap. It's not true. People show up to the game. We get loud. I can't wait till they're back in 2 weeks on that Thursday, which is also my mom's birthday. And we'll probably get a win. Can't wait till we're back. But we're in our winning ways. 2 wins away from bowl eligibility for the second time in team history. Shout out to Will Haley, shout out to CR3, shout out to Shad, shout out to the rest of the team. We get it done. Now moving on to the national schedule. Game of the year after game of the year after game of the year after game of the year. And we're going to start off with a game that always delivers, and that is the Red River Rivalry. or the Red River Shootout, whatever you want to call it. It's Red River, man. It's Texas, Oklahoma. It's one of the greatest games of the year, every year. And it was once again one of the greatest games of the year this year. Texas went up 28-7 at one point in this game. I think in the first quarter as well. Casey Thompson was dealing. He ended up 20 for 34, 388 yards, 5 touchdowns. Bijan Robinson, best running back in the country, 137 and a touchdown. Xavier Worthy, the young boy, the freshman, 9 receptions, 261, 2 touchdowns, including the go-ahead late. But it wasn't to be. It wasn't to be. Even though Texas had all this good stuff, Worthy had a fumble late that hurt, but he redeemed himself with the go-ahead catch. For all of those offensive statistics I just threw at you from Texas, and the fact that they were leading, as you should probably know by now if you follow college football, it wasn't to be, because Spencer Rattler, and I'm not sure if I've ever seen a guy fall as far down a draft board as Spencer Rattler has this year. I mean, dude was the number one. He was the guy. He was the man. Not anymore. Not anymore. Caleb Williams, Superman, former number 1 overall quarterback recruit in the nation last year, comes in as a freshman here. Everybody's been calling for him for weeks, and he showed out. His first possession, I think a 60-yard run touchdown, and then leads Oklahoma back. Though we had big-time defensive plays. We had Caleb Kelly, like I said, that fumble he caused against Worthy on the return game. But Caleb Williams is the one. He's the true guy. He's the guy. He should be the starter the rest of the year. Sorry, Spence. It is what it is. Caleb, 300 yards total, 3 touchdowns. Kennedy Brooks got unlocked. He's a very underrated running back, by the way. 217 and the game winner. 2 touchdowns. Kennedy Brooks. They looked like they were going for the field goal. Brooks, of course, he scored a touchdown on that play. Of course he did. Marvin Mims, 5 receptions, 136, 2 touchdowns, and one of the best catches you'll see. Insane game. Insane back and forth game. I mean, it had all of the drama. All of the drama. Oklahoma wins 55-48 in the highest scoring Red River rivalry game we can remember, Red River Shootout. It was literally a shootout, and it was just, it was a mental game. It was an absolutely mental game. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. All of the drama and all of the hype, it delivered to the utmost standard. If you can catch the highlights for this game, if you didn't see it, please do it. Please go to YouTube after you watch this video and go watch it, because you will not be disappointed. It was an unbelievable game. Oklahoma walks it off. They look like a different team with Caleb, so we'll see what happens. Texas is so tough. So tough. So tough. Don't really deserve to win that game. Both teams did, but somebody had to win. Michigan gets the win over Rutgers 31-13. Michigan State. We'll talk about Michigan later. Michigan State 31-13 over Rutgers. The big story was Jalen Naylor with 3 60-yard plus touchdowns. He went 5 receptions, 221, 3 touchdowns. Peyton Thorne continues to be one of the better players in the Big Ten just overall, not just one of the best quarterbacks. I mean, you can argue he's probably the best quarterback in the Big Ten, honestly, so far this season. Even though C.J. Stroud is playing a little bit better, and we'll talk about him later. But Thorne, 340, 3 touchdowns. Kenneth Walker in the Heisman convo, one of the best running backs in the nation, 232 and a touchdown. Michigan State put it on Rutgers. And it's a pretty good Rutgers team. You know, it's not normal Rutgers. But Michigan State continues to be undefeated. They've been great so far. Mel Tucker, shout out to you. Ole Miss and another. This game was going on at the same time. I think I tweeted it out. I was going back and forth on the previous/return button like a madman between Ole Miss and Arkansas and Texas and Oklahoma. 2 games of the year at the same exact time. At the same time. Ole Miss barely escapes. Arkansas, after Arkansas, Sam Pittman says, I got the cojones. He goes for 2. Could have took the 1, went to OT. He wanted to try to win the game. I don't really like the play call, but, I respect the decision. Because KJ, let's be real here. KJ had 411 yards and 6 touchdowns. Might as well let him go for it, honestly. Might as well let KJ go for it. KJ Jefferson, one of the best quarterbacks so far this year. He's been phenomenal, and he was phenomenal in this game. On the opposing side, a guy who I think honestly might be quarterback one in the draft now, Matt Corral goes 381 total, 4 touchdowns. He was the superstar that a lot of people expect Corral to be. He was, great in this game. Henry Parrish, 18 carries, 11 yards. Braylon Anderson, 2 receptions, 127 and a touchdown. Sanders with 139 on the ground for Arkansas. It was an incredible game. It was an incredible game. An incredible game, like I said, went down to the wire, back and forth in those last 3 minutes. It was insane. It was insane. It was a movie. It was literally a movie. Arkansas, I don't think they fell very low. I think them and Ole Miss really just swapped. They really do deserve to be ranked because, it was an amazing, amazing game. Overtime would have been interesting, but, I got to respect Coach O for, putting faith in his players and saying, no, you guys can get it done. Should have been a better play call on Bryles' part, but nonetheless, Ole Miss, huge win. Huge momentum-building win, and yeah, that was an incredible game. Georgia versus Auburn, a top 10 matchup, or was it? No, it wasn't a top 10 matchup. I don't think Auburn was ranked that high, but still a ranked matchup and still one of the bigger games of the year. Usually, Georgia and Auburn, we've seen a lot of chaos happen. The prayer at Jordan Hare, so on and so forth. Georgia is now the number 1 team in the nation, and we'll talk about why. And just off a resume, after this win, it had been very hard to not make them the number 1 team in the nation. They get the win 34-10. Stetson Bennett played one of his better games, 251, 2 touchdowns. Zeus had 2 TDs as well. McConkey, not thought of very highly amongst the pecking order with all the injuries to the receiving corps with Georgia. 5 receptions, 135, and a touchdown. That's huge against Auburn. But really, let's be honest, it's the Georgia defense. It's always going to be the Georgia defense. I'm still not convinced until those guys come back on the offensive side of the ball for the Bulldogs. I'm not convinced, and especially after we saw them play an elite defense like Clemson. They didn't score a touchdown. Yeah, that was the first game of the season, but they didn't score at all. I'm not convinced by this offense. I think they're solid, and maybe that'll be enough. Maybe that'll be enough to win them the national championship. But I'm not convinced, but that defense is looking legendary, and they put in another great performance against Auburn. Georgia gets the win there. Iowa versus Penn State. Number 3 versus number 4, and number 3 took them down. In Kinnick, Iowa, it was the Kinnick magic, man. Penn State, because Penn State had all the bad voodoo. All of it. Sean Clifford had 2 picks in this game, and we'll talk about the Iowa defense, man. Clifford got injured in this game, so Roberson, the backup quarterback, has to come in. And he was, I hate to dunk on the kid, but he wasn't ready. He wasn't ready for prime time. He wasn't ready for the show. When the lights got dark, in the words of my guy from TikTok, he was pissing down his leg because he was not ready. My boy was not ready for under the lights and against that Iowa's defense. That was a horrific performance by him, by Roberson. And Iowa's defense, I've never seen, at least in some time, seen a defense that produces turnovers the way Iowa's defense does. It's insane. 4 picks in this game, but it's amazing to watch. It's amazing to watch. In the way that Georgia's defense just suffocates you and shuts you down, Iowa's defense takes the ball from you. It's incredible to watch. They're the number 1 and number 2 teams in the country for a reason so far this season. But Iowa's offense, like Georgia's, but even more so, I dare say, is very, very suspect. Very, very, very suspect. Wake Forest gets the win over Syracuse 40-37 in another unbelievable game. This one went to overtime. Sam Hartman, 19 for 32, 330 and 3 touchdowns. A.T. Perry, 3 receptions, 137, and the game winner. Him. Schrader, 338, 3 touchdowns. Moved on from Mississippi State, came to Syracuse, put in a good performance. This was another great, great game. But Wake Forest, they get it done. They did what they had to do. They continue to be undefeated. Number 1 team in the ACC. And now for the headline game. Well, I can't even say it's the headline game because there were so many headline games. But the biggest story, possibly of the entire sports week. Alabama went into Texas A&M, went on to Kyle Field. Johnny Manziel was in the building, so you just had this air. There was something in the air. You just knew something was different. And something was different. Because Texas A&M uncrowns the Kings. The reigning defending champs take the L to Texas A&M, 41-38. Small, shout to Seth Small. He hits the game-winning field goal. I'm sure that man's dorm or apartment room was lively tonight, and I'm sure they were up in College Station. Texas A&M, what a performance. Zach Calzada, I don't know how. That was divine. Now, that was divine intervention. That had to be divine intervention. I don't know how your leg gets bent, like his leg got bent, and you just walk it off and you're good to go. I don't know how that works. I don't know how that happened. But shout out to my boy, because he made it work, and, you know, he survived and lived to fight another day, because I thought he was done for. Calzada, after all the flack we've been giving him, 285, 3 touchdowns. For Alabama, Jamison Williams went off. It's crazy, and a testament to the Ohio State wide receiver corps that J-Mo could not get on the field. I mean, he was on the field, but he wasn't really starring like he is at Bama. That should be a testament to how deep and how good Ohio State's receiving corps is, and we'll talk about, like I said, LSU later in about their game. The 60 ball they put on Maryland. But J-Bo, 10 receptions, 146, 2 touchdowns. He was a star. Bryce, on paper, you see 369 and 3 touchdowns, and you think, okay, Bryce Young, good performance, Heisman-worthy performance. But honestly, Texas A&M was giving Bama's offense some problems, especially in that first half. They made the necessary adjustments, came from behind, and took the lead in the second half, and we was like, oh, okay, Bama's back, here we go again. But TAMU got it together and held on long enough. But yeah, TAMU holds on long enough to get it done. Congratulations. Hey, also, the 24-0 streak is over with Saban against his old assistants. Yeah, Jimbo gets it done. First guy to do it. TAMU, man, listen, college football is so... I love college football. I tweeted this out. I tweeted this out before this game. I tweeted it out in the 12 o'clocks when we had the Red River rivalry in Ole Miss and Arkansas. I tweeted that out then. But this was just, I love college football. I really do. And it was games like this that were like, oh, man. You know, it makes it so much more interesting now with Bama taken down, and it's like, okay, Georgia looks great. They're the undisputed number 1, I think, in the AP poll. But they don't look unbeatable. The defense looks unbeatable. But the offense looks suspect. Iowa, I mean, are we sure Iowa? This is Iowa. With all due respect, it's Iowa. So it's like, you know, the playoff might be different this year. So it's exciting. It's an exciting time to be a college football fan. And to end off, I said Michigan. I was going to talk about them. Nebraska. Similar to the Lions, how many heartbreaking losses can you take? I feel bad. I feel bad. I really do feel bad. Nebraska, I'm so sorry. Scott Frost, I'm so sorry. Adrian Martinez, you folded. You folded. Y'all had it in the bag. Y'all done marched down, got the field goal, knocked off Michigan, but you folded. I don't know how you fumble in that situation. Great defensive play. Haskins had 123 and 2 touchdowns. Hassan Haskins on the ground for the number 1 rushing attack in college football, I believe Michigan has, with him and Blake Corum, who also scored in this game. But Michigan barely squeaks it out, 32-29. Heartbreak for the Cornhuskers. Yet again, just it was rough. And again, to round up here, Boise State knocks off the previously unbeaten BYU. Boise State finally look like Boise State this year. They got the win 26-17. Ohio State. CJ Stroud played one of his better games. Looks like the shoulder injury is healing. But once again, though I'm giving credit to Stroud, he had 406 and 5 touchdowns. Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson are ridiculous. They are ridiculous. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. That receiving core is ridiculous. Stroud was good, but he's being elevated by the receiving talent, as you would expect. He's just got to do his job, really. But Stroud got it done. They dropped a 60 ball on Maryland. And Kentucky murked LSU. Coach O is speedrunning his career. He's speedrunning his career. He had the hot start, the rise. Then he had the climax in one of the greatest teams of all time in the national championship. And now he's in a steep, fast decline. And it's happened like that. Like that. So, yeah, we'll see what happens there. But shout out to Kentucky. I think they're undefeated as well. Rising in the SEC. It's a crazy year, man. What a year. What a time to be alive. College football is so exciting. So fun right now. So, yeah, if you're not watching, you need to get hip. But yeah, that was the weekend. A mad week in college football. Now to head over to entertainment. And while Bond, the new Bond film is out, I haven't seen it yet and probably won't get to see it before I head back to the 704. We did have the finale of the What If series with what if the Watcher intervened? What if he broke his promise? And had to basically save the universe from Ultra Instinct Ultron. And this was, honestly, I can see why some people did not enjoy this episode as much as the others, because honestly, in the format, I understand why it was done the way it was done. Also, spoiler alert for all of this, by the way, as always. I understand why it was kind of sped through as it was, and really, Ultron was very much so nerfed here, even though Doctor Strange also was just a cheat code as well. And it's going to be interesting to see what Strange does with that pocket universe of Killmonger, who, once again, in classic Killmonger character, stayed true to the character, turned on them at the end. He gets put in a pocket universe with Ultron Zola, and them to fight over the Infinity Stones there forever and ever while Strange looks over them. But yeah, the Guardians of the Universe kind of brought all the episodes together. We got to see T'Challa, Star-Lord, Thor, Party Thor. We even saw Gamora show up, even though she didn't have too much of a big deal in the episode. But we got to see everybody, and it was a cool episode. It was a cool episode. Yeah, it was a solid episode. It was a great series. They don't miss. Like I said, they haven't missed on any of these TV shows. It was the necessary ending. The execution, maybe if it was a little bit longer, I feel like they could have fleshed it out. But for the time constraint, for what it was, what a great series. What a fun series it was as well. I can see them bringing it back in the future. Not immediately, of course, because, we're into the next kind of evolution. We're into the next, I cannot remember the word, the next stage of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Of course, starting with the Eternals coming up very soon. But for now, What If, great series. We'll see you for Hawkeye and, like I said, for the Eternals. Titans episode 11. I'm kind of tired of the character assassination Dick Grayson is undertaking in this show. And he gets basically murdered here. Is Dan Didio writing the show? Is Dan Didio writing the show at this point? Grayson continues to act very un-Grayson-like. And he tries to go after Jason and Scarecrow. And he gets shot by somebody in the crowd because Red Hood is now the hero of Gotham. Really, the bright spots of this episode were between, and similar to last week, Donna Troy and Tim Drake, who are kind of carrying the show at this point. I'm very much so intrigued and invested in their, kind of storyline going on. Donna having to step up as a leader, Tim kind of becoming the Tim Drake we all know and love. What else? Starfire's whole plot, it's interesting. She lost her fire powers. Apparently that was suppressing her real powers, so we'll see what happens there. But it was, we saw some Rachel and Gar. They're kind of getting back into it, but this episode was not great. These last couple episodes haven't been great, if I'm being honest. That's all I can really say about Titans episode 11. I didn't really love it. But it progressed the storyline here and there, but not really. It was mid. It was pretty much the definition of mid to kind of mediocre, but it is what it is. We'll see if they can get on a better start as we get closer and closer to the season finale of Titan season 3. Now, in music, my boy Don Toliver, Life of Don. I've been waiting for this one. I have been waiting for this one, and if anybody knows me, I've been waiting for this one. Life of a Don. Escape. He started off this thing so scorching hot. I'm going to give it a 9. I'm only on first listen, but off of first listen, we're giving it a 9. Now, that can go higher. That could go lower. Probably, I think it drops maybe just a tad. But it might stay in that 9. That's why I'm giving it a 9. Definitely going to be one of my favorite albums of the year, I feel, because just the replay value. I don't know if it has the highs, though. And that's going to really determine it if it sticks in that 9 or if it drops to the 8s, which isn't a bad thing. 8's still a very good album. And I feel like it's going to drop to the 8s because I don't know if it has any songs with the highs of Cardigan or the highs of After Party, right, on Heaven and Hell, or Heaven and Hell. I don't know if it has those heights. Though my standout tracks Escape and Way Bigger, he dropped a music video for Way Bigger. As I listen more to the album, some of them may grow to those heights, but off of first listen, I don't know if any of them are like straight to that. But the first half of this album is phenomenal. I felt like I was floating. Don did his thing. He did his thing on this album. The album was great. If you haven't listened to it already for whatever reason, please go elevate with Don Toliver, because it was magical. It was a magical album, and I very much so enjoyed it, and I'm sure you would enjoy it too. But that was entertainment. The MLB playoffs are well underway, and simply put, we're not going to talk about the wild card round. And why? Why might you ask? Because, well, the Dodgers beat the Cardinals, so there you go. And I don't want to talk about the Yankees. I don't want to talk about us. I don't want to talk about us, because we don't deserve to be talked about. How about that? We don't deserve to be talked about after that mediocre, sorry performance we put against the Red Sox, or excuse me, the Dead Sox. It was disgusting. It was disgusting. We should have let Toronto get in the wild card, because at least I know Vladdy and Toronto and all the young players, Teal Oscar, Marco Simeon, Bo, they would have put up a better fight than whatever you want to call whatever we put on the field on whatever day it was. Disgusting. Anyways, NLDS is underway. The LDS also underway. The Braves get the win 3-0 over the Brewers in Game 2. Max Fried showed out. 6 innings pitched, 9 Ks. Ties up the series 1-1. I think the Brewers get out of this one, actually. Actually, I don't know. That's such a tough. It's an interesting series. Because normally with the star power, if like Acuna was healthy, I would take the Braves here. But I don't know. The Brewers closed really well. But the Braves also have such good pitching. Honestly, it's a series that's probably going to go under the radar compared to all the other ones. It's not the most higher profile one, but it's going to be one of the more interesting ones, and I could see it going the distance. But for Game 2, Fried Braves tie it up. The Dodgers, who I feel it's very hard to pick against the Dodgers as the World Series favorite. I told my boy ED3, who you guys remember from the podcast, from an episode, I think, what was it, episode 50? I think it was episode 50. Yeah. Dodgers get the win 9-2, or actually it may have been like episode 53 for like the year anniversary. But yeah, the Dodgers get the win in Game 2, 9-2. Urias. For those that follow prospects, you knew Urias was special when he came out 5 years ago. And he came up, he's still only like 24 or something. Came up when he was 19. Absolutely insane. He's starting to hit his potential, especially this year. He even had an RBI. He was on his Shohei Ohtani. Urias was on his Shohei Ohtani in this game. Had an RBI, a crucial RBI to put him ahead, I think, as well. Will Smith has been balling out. He had a home run. Chris Taylor was big in this game. And yeah, the Dodgers offense was working. The pitching was working. They get a win against San Fran. In the battle of the two best records in the entire league, in the NLDS. That's the MLB playoff structure for you. We get the two best teams in the regular season playing each other in the divisional round, who also are in the same division. There you go. Should be a fun series, though. Two best teams in baseball. But yeah, Dodgers, if I had to pick, I'd probably say they win. And they win Game 2. Boston gets the win over Tampa Bay 6-4. And that was BS. That was BS. That was complete bull. I mean, egregious. It was egregious. An egregious robbery. Disgusting act. I can't, sit here. Whatever Ayesha Curry said in that tweet, I can't stand for that. I can't stand, not just because it's Boston, right? Because I really shouldn't like Tampa Bay either. They're also in our division. But that rule is just a terrible rule. So basically, Kevin Kiermaier, hits it off the wall, brings a run in. But the problem is, bounced off the wall, hit the ground, and then bounced off for Hunter Renfroe and went over the fence. So guess what? They take the run back, and it's just a double. Put them on man on second and man on third. A play that would have won the game, potentially, taken away, and of course, the next half inning later, Christian Velasquez goes yard, Red Sox win, tie up. No, excuse me, don't tie up. They go up 2-1. This was crazy. That's crazy to me. So if I'm an outfielder and I'm a little late to get into a ball, I'm gonna knock that over every single time. If there's a run that's coming, I'm going to sell it and make it look like, man, I accidentally knocked it over, just so I can push it back. That is such a terrible rule. And Boston just, listen, if Boston earned that win, I'd be a little bit less salty. I could put my pride aside and be less salty. But the way they won that is just such, it's just such BS. Such BS. Rays get robbed. Red Sox up 2-1. Houston up 2-1 in this series. We're looking for the sweep. There was no sweep to be found. The White Sox get the win 12-6. They rallied. Grandal was fantastic in this game. Had a couple RBIs. Tim Anderson did his thing. And yeah, after the hot start for the Astros, White Sox showed some resiliency. Similar to, it was kind of like an anagram for the actual series. They fight back, they get back into it, and they get the win. So all respect to Chicago for getting back into it. And yeah, rallying against, I guess, the villains of the MLB so far this season and the Astros. But once again, the Astros were up 2-0 for a reason. It's going to be an interesting. Game 4 is probably going to be a wild one. But White Sox, they got life. We'll see if they can tie it. Send it to a Game 5. Now for the NFL. And we started off with the LA Rams taking on the Seattle Seahawks on Thursday. And the Rams, after the loss last week to lose the undefeated streak, I was a little bit down on the Rams. But they recovered nicely. Even though Stafford didn't have his brightest game, he was able to finally, and I mean finally, find Robert Woods, who had 12 receptions, 150 in this game. But the bigger story here was Russell Wilson messed up his finger. That looked like a fracture or dislocation to me. They tried to claim it was a sprain. I think it came out that it was I think it was a fracture. He's out for 2 months or something like that. So that is a huge, huge blow for the Seahawks. I just hit the 9-0. That was a huge blow. Huge blow for the Seahawks. Changed the game. Rams were able to pull away. And, yeah, it's going to be interesting. And listen, the NFC West is one of the most intriguing divisions in football. Because honestly, it feels like, and the Seahawks might be out of it now because Wilson's going to be gone, but it feels like any of them can win and any of them can make the playoffs. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy, but definitely one of the more intriguing divisions in football. The Falcons in London. We were at Tottenham Hotspur, home of Spurs, obviously, as you can tell by the namesake of the stadium. We were in London for the London games. ATL gets the win over the Jets. Kyle Pitts has his breakout game. 9 receptions, 119 and a touchdown. Zach Wilson was all over the place. But Falcons, I mean, listen, they were playing the Jets. Let's be honest. They were playing the Jets. They should have won, even though the Falcons are not by any means, I would say, a good team. They were playing the Jets. The Jets are not a good team. Falcons get the win here. Matty Ice, 33 for 45. 342 and 2 touchdowns. He did his thing. Cordell Patterson also did his thing and got me a ton of fantasy points. Packers get the win in, a wild game. A wild ending to this game. And a kicker's nightmare. They get the win in overtime, 25-22. Mason Crosby, one of the best, greatest kickers of his generation, missed 3 field goals. 2 field goals and an extra point before finally facing his demons and getting the game winner. Evan McPherson thought he made it. In overtime, thought he won the game, but missed it, hit it right over, I think, the goalpost. It was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. And probably for both, for Packer and Bengal fan livers, it was not a good game either. Because it was probably the most heart-wrenching game, besides one game for the Lions, and I'll talk about that. It was probably the most stressful game I can imagine so far this season, with all of the misses and going to overtime. But the Packers escape. Crosby wasn't his finest. Burrow and Rodgers, they tried to call this a duel. It was a little bit of a duel, but it wasn't really a duel. Though Rodgers still 27 for 39, 344, 2 touchdowns. Devontae Adams stole the show. Really, I think the receiver stole the show. It was a receiver duel between Adams and Chase. Adams, 11 receptions, 206 and a touchdown. Chase with 6 receptions, 159 and a touchdown. Burrow had 2 picks, but 2 touchdowns and 281. Still, it was a great game, a very stressful game, but as a neutral, honestly, it was a pretty fun game to watch. The misses was insane how they were piling up. And for Crosby, who's normally so consistent, it was wild to see him lose in this fashion. The Vikings and the Lions. The Detroit Lions are the greatest 0-5 team I've ever seen in my life. How many times can you lose on a game-winning field goal in a season? Because the Lions are going for the record. How many different ways can the Lions lose in heartbreaking fashion? Dan Campbell has done, honestly, a relatively good job as the head coach. He does not deserve to be 0-5. I wouldn't say this Lions team deserves to be 0-5. But somehow, some way, they keep finding ways to lose. If you are a Detroit Lions fan at this point, all the respect to you, one. But number two, you are a masochist. You are a masochist. If you are a Detroit Lions fan, there has to be easier ways of practicing masochism. You are a masochist. There's no way. You must have Stockholm Syndrome at this point. There's no way I could take getting my heart broken year after year, player after player, in this season, game after game after game after. How does this even happen? Like, it's like God is torturing. I don't understand. I do not understand. I am so sorry. I'm so sorry, Lions fans. I really do sympathize with you. Congrats, Vikings wins. I feel like y'all have had a couple game-winning field goals, by the way. Joseph, he gets the game winner here. Jefferson, Jetta showed out. But just, it was, oh my goodness. Lions, I don't know how y'all do it. I really don't. How do you keep finding ways to lose? The Steelers beat the Broncos 27-19. Big Ben looked much less washed. I was about to, clown on him, but all due respect, he did what he does, He did what he does, did what he needed to do. Juju got hurt. I would say it's a big loss, but is it really? They got Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool had 5 receptions for 130 and a touchdown in this game. They also got Najee Harris going, 23 carries, 123 and a touchdown. Cortland Sutton, I didn't start him in fantasy, so he made me pay 7 receptions, 120 and a touchdown. And it looked for a second like the Broncos were about to get back in this game, but Steelers defense holds it down. Offense does enough. One of their better wins, I'd say, of the season, even though they only have 2. Honestly, probably their best game they've played, I think. Well, they had the Week 1 win, but after, being so up and down the past couple weeks, it was nice to see them get back on track. Buccaneers murdered the Dolphins. This score is 45-17. It was not that close. It was not that close. Tom Brady, 30 for 41, 411, 5 touchdowns. He's the GOAT. He's the GOAT. I don't really got to say much more than that. He's the GOAT. Antonio Brown had 7 receptions, 124 and 2 touchdowns. Mike Evans had 6 receptions, 113 and 2 touchdowns. It was a murder. It was a murder. Dolphins, it wasn't competitive. That score was not as close as it seems. Trust and believe. It was not that close. But moving on here, Saints get the win over the Washington football team, 33-22. New Orleans gets the wins over the Washington football team, 33-2. Famous Jameis. We had good Jameis this week. 15 for 30, 279, 4 touchdowns. Still threw an interception, but better game for him this week. Better game for Kamara. Taylor Heineke. Sometimes he looks like he is the guy. He is the answer. But more often than not, if I'm going to be brutally honest, and I feel like my boy Raw, if I had him on, would also say the same thing. He doesn't look like he's the true answer. He looks like he's a stopgap. And he was a stopgap and really was mediocre in this game. Really held back Washington. The defense wasn't bad, but just after a certain point in time, they're going to break, especially with an offense that can be as explosive as the Saints. And that's what happened. And that's why the Saints got the win. Eagles take down the Panthers 21-18. Jalen Hurts, despite having a very, very up and down game, was able to close the show and was able to show up when it matters. And the Eagles, late in the game, I think with under 3 minutes left, Hurts got the run to go ahead, and they got the 2-point conversion. But yeah, Hurts runs for 2 touchdowns. Panthers take the L. They're now 3-2. They've dropped 2 straight. We'll see if that's a bigger storyline here. CMC, though, might be coming back soon, so we'll see what happens there. Titans and the Jaguars. King Henry. King Henry. 3 touchdowns, 130, 29 carries. Derrick Henry. MVP combo. MVP convo looks like he is storming away with the rushing title right now, and also is the savior of my fantasy team. But yeah, Derrick Henry, the God, King Henry, you know, he did what he does as expected, especially against the Jaguars, which he seems to especially love to go off against, which is not just because they're a bad team. I don't know. He has over 1,000 yards so far in his career against the Jaguars. He bullies them. He's bullying the Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence, another good game for Trev. He's looked like he's turning the corner a little bit. Though I will say, that goal line stand by the Titans, which was good defense, but also if he hits Chenault there, I think that changes the game a little bit. That was really the backbreaker for the Jaguars. They're getting better. They got J-Rob going, 149, even though they probably should have given it to him on the goal line there. They're getting better, and with all of the Urban Meyer stuff last week, they're getting better. That's the best thing I can say. Honestly, they're getting better. They ain't there yet, and they weren't beating the Titans. But there's progress being made with the players. We'll see what happens, though. They're still 0-5 and with no real win in sight. They should have beat the Texans, though. The Patriots were able to beat the Texans. Mac Jones wasn't great. Davis Mills actually outplayed him, if I'm being honest. But Patriots were able to get it done with Nick Folk hitting the game winner with 15 seconds to go. Davis Mills, however, 21 for 29, 312, 3 touchdowns. Best game of his young career. Mac Jones wasn't great, threw a pick. But Patriots do enough to get the job done and get the win. The Bears were able to beat the Raiders after all the Gruden stuff. The Raiders, yeah, you saw it coming. You kind of just saw it coming. They were down to have another letdown game, and it happened. Fields was pretty good. Herbert was very good. I will give a shout out Virginia Tech, Khalil Herbert. Ran very well, played very well in substitution for the injured David Montgomery, who's currently on IR. But the Bears, 3-2, by the way, which I think a lot of people haven't, been kind of really down because of the whole field situation with the Bears. But they're 3-2. They're not, they're a competitive team. So you can say what you want about, their decisions so far in the season. But at the end of the day, they're 3-2. That's a winning record, and they're competing for a divisional title at the moment. We'll see if that lasts. But they were able to take down the Raiders. Chargers and the Browns, and probably the game of the week. This game was similar to the college football games. It was back and forth. But Justin Herbert, Jay Herbo. They call him my boy Jay Herbo now. 26 for 43, 398, 4 touchdowns, threw his hat in the MVP combo. Eric Eckler went bananas. 66 yards rushing, 53 passing, closed the show. He was great down the stretch, and the Chargers just were phenomenal. Mike Williams is having a fantastic year. He continued here. 8 receptions, 165, and 2 touchdowns. Baker Mayfield played a good game. 23 for 32, 305, 2 touchdowns. Chubb and Hunt were great. Chubb especially, 161 and a touchdown. Hunt had 2 TDs. It was a great game. Honestly, it was a great game. But that Browns defense, which has been great this year, not so much the Chargers defense, but the Browns defense that's been good this year, just didn't have any answer. Did not have an answer for that Chargers offense. And they were able to outlast. And Jay Herbo, man. Jay Herbo playing at an MVP caliber. What a pick. What a pick he should turn out to be so far. What a pick. The Cowboys. How about them Cowboys? Part 3. 44-20 over the Giants. We held it down. Dak had 303, 3 touchdowns. We fed Zeke. CD went off. And Trevon Diggs is Defensive Player of the Year so far. He got his 6th interception in 5 games. Listen. I said I was wrong about him last week, but now I love him. Trevon Diggs, lockdown corner. Stop throwing to him or keep throwing to him so we can get those interception numbers up. Also, receivers that get converted to cornerbacks, that gives you hope. You see how the ball skills are translating. We're seeing what Diggs has been able to do this year. And he's been a revelation for this defense. And we get the huge win. Everything was going. Honestly, everything was going. Kellen Moore is an offensive genius. It's a fun time. What a time. What a time to be alive. Daniel Jones got injured in this game. Kenny Galladay got injured in this game. And Saquon Barkley's ankle was about this big. So, rough game for Giants fans. You hate to see the injuries, especially to great players like Saquon and even DJ and Galladay. But Cowboys roll. What can I say? 49ers and the Cardinals. The Cardinals remain the only undefeated team in the league. It wasn't pretty. It was a defensive battle. J.J. Watt looked like old J.J. Watt, even though he didn't have a sack. Even the 49ers defense looked good. But at the end of the day, DeAndre Hopkins, on that one possession, completely took over. Kyler kept finding him. They get the win, 17-10. Rondell Moore also had one of the best catches you will ever see in this game. Cardinals look legit. They look legit. If the defense can continue to step up like this and Kyler can continue to compete for an MVP, the Cardinals could be a problem. They could really be a problem. The Bills and the Chiefs. The Chiefs are 2-3. I don't know who needs to hear this, but the Chiefs are 2-3. Which I'm not saying full panic, but something's going on. The Bills get the win 38-20. Josh Allen outplays Patrick Mahomes 15-26, 315 and 3 touchdowns. Mahomes is he just hasn't been up to his standards this year. He just has not. And Josh Allen also had a touchdown on the ground. He was great. Dalton Knox also went over 100 yards, but the Bills, they just look like the better team. They got revenge for the AFC Championship. Of course, they're going to want revenge later on in the playoffs. But honestly, that's if the Chiefs make it. Because they're in the same division as the Chargers. And the way the Chiefs are looking, they're looking kind of shaky. They're looking a little suspect, if I'm being honest. So I'm not truly convinced that this is the Chiefs team of old. Because it's not clicking. For whatever reason, these teams, even though they've played a hard schedule, these teams that they've beaten in the past, they have not beaten this year. So it's going to be interesting to see what adjustments Andy Reid and that Chiefs team makes, because it just hasn't been working. It has not been working this year. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see down the line here as the season goes on. Do they get worse? Does this Chiefs team continue to crumble? Or will they rise to the occasion as a lot of us expect? But for now, Bills make a statement winning win on Sunday night. And with all that said, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the Roundup. We have reached the Roundup of episode 62, which has been a packed episode, hopefully, like I said. I hope you guys have enjoyed so far. But honestly, it's been a good episode. I've had a lot to talk about. I had a lot of stuff I've been passionate to talk about. Hopefully, you've seen that energy. And we're going to continue here. NASCAR. We cut down to the final 8 here in the playoffs. We were at Charlotte. We were in the 704 for the road course. Kyle Larson becomes the first man to win 3 different road courses in one season. But the bigger story besides Larson's dominance was Kevin Harvick versus Chase Elliott. The new poster boy and Harvick have not been on the best of terms lately. Of course, Chase a couple weeks back blocked Harvick and let William Byron win. Harvick took offense to that, even though, it's not really that egregious. It's not that wild. Sure, he could have let you race, but, Byron's Chase's teammate. He wanted to let his teammate win. Nonetheless, it is what it is. Harvick took offense to it. And here, when it mattered the most, with both of them competing to advance to the next round, Harvick took the liberty of wrecking Chase early in the race. Looked like Chase was down and out. They somehow got that car back working. I will never know. Shout out to the people on the, pit crew. But come back later in the race. Harvick competing for a spot. Chase trying to get back into it. And what do you know? Kevin Harvick, in the words of my guy from TikTok, who I cannot remember his name, but like I said earlier in college football, Harvick looked in his rearview mirror, saw the 9, and pissed down his leg, and crashed right into the wall, missed the turn, locked on the throttle, forgot to brake. Yeah, Harvick got scared. He got scared. He pooped his pants a little bit, and when he saw Chase, maybe Chase Elliott is now the intimidator. I don't know. But yeah, Harvick trying to be petty. Didn't work out for him. Karma hit. Chase advances. Harvick goes home. Not home because he still gets the race, but, he's out of championship contention. Chase gets to see if he can repeat. Sweet, sweet karma. Sweet, sweet karma. It's not that I don't like Harvick. I'm fine with Harvick. He's a legend. But, you were being petty. It was unnecessary. really the original incident wasn't even a big deal, if I'm being honest. But, you wanted to do what you wanted to do, and it didn't pay out for you. It is what it is. It is what it is. WNBA playoffs are going on right now, and really the WNBA finals, should I say, are going on right now, and we got a great matchup between the Chicago Sky and the Phoenix Mercury. If you haven't been tuned in, Game 1 was pretty darn good, and it was good if you're a Chicago Sky fan, because Candace Parker gets closer and closer to pulling a LeBron and bringing back a championship to the city that birthed her. But she wasn't the star. Kalia Cooper had 21 and 10, even though Candace had 16 and 8. But Kalia Cooper was phenomenal, 21 and 10. The Mercury's big three with Skylar Diggins, Brittany Griner, and Deanna Taurasi did their thing. But Sky played a better overall team game. I think Courtney Vandersloot also had a double-double. She's been nice throughout this entire playoffs. Well-deserved team win. Played better team ball. Cooper played great. Sky get the well-deserved win. It's going to be a good series. Honestly, it's going to be a good series. If you're looking to watch the WNBA, catch this final series because there's a lot of talent. I'm definitely going to check out some games. But, yeah, shout out to the ladies. Shout out to the ladies. I know I don't always talk about y'all as much as I talk about everything else. But I did want to give y'all a shout out here. WNBA putting out some good content for you guys. Check out the finals because I don't think you'll be disappointed. And to end off this insane and probably very long episode 62, France takes down Spain in the Nations League final. Of course, I think 2 years ago we saw Portugal get the dub. This year, Karim Benzema, a different Real Madrid legend. Karim Benzema, who has to be in Ballon d'Or conversations. I don't care. He might be the guy to win it this year because Benzema has been in the form of his life in terms of leading Real Madrid and then leading France here and being the top scorer in this entire competition and multiple competitions throughout. He was great in Euros listen, Benzema has been he's been possibly the best player in the world this year. It continued in the final. He got the goal to tie it up. Mbappe gets the winner. A lot of people were calling for offsides, but Mbappe was offside. To be fair, he was offside, but apparently it looked like Eric Garcia clipped it a little bit, pushed the ball forward, so that means Mbappe's back on side, and as a result, he was able to, calm it down, slow it down, and that composed, cool finish to get the win. France gets a win, another major trophy. Also, shout out to Hugo Lloris from those saves in the last 10 minutes of that game were incredible for Lloris. Well deserved, a true captain's performance, and Paul Pogba proving that once again he's one of the best midfielders in the world. Completely bossed the midfield, no Conte for France, but Pogba absolutely held it down and some. And yeah, he was a big reason why they got the win versus Spain. But yeah, Benz, Pogba, Lloris, Mbappe, brilliance. France, the golden generation reigns. They win the Nations League, get another major trophy. But that was anything. That was everything. What a week. One of the best weeks in sports I can remember. It was absolutely incredible. I hope you guys enjoyed because I definitely enjoyed bringing it to you. And yeah, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, hope you guys enjoyed episode 62. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. If you did, I enjoy the support. Appreciate all the love lately, guys. Almost at 400 subscribers. But yeah, episode 62 in the books. We'll be back in the 7-4 next week. But from the 336, Ocho, signing off.